Good morning. I think I'm going to have to ask my old monks to keep quiet. They're Carthusian monks. They pray midnight vigils. It's not actually midnight, but anyway. Some 2 hours worth of it. Oh, let there be light. Oh, Lord. Well, it's Tuesday, the 28th now of January 2025, and here I am in the northeastern corner, Northumbria, of England. Now, by and large, I try and avoid directly sort of politics with a sort of P, large or small. Yes, if it's about people, fine, but I generally speak on Christian matters, or I am a Christian, as a Christian take on sort of spiritual matters. Howsoever, yesterday was specifically Holocaust Memorial Day, for the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration camp. But amongst other things, I've learned that there were some 44,000 of these camps. It still beggars belief that, I love the music of Beethoven, just to mention one German, or Mozart, who is an Austrian, but whatever. They were a civilized nation. The figure then that springs out is, I believe, Moscow, possibly Leningrad or St. Petersburg was liberated on the same day. Well, I'm not always all that good on these matters, but 27 million Russians, both military or civilians, were killed during the Second World War. So huge numbers of Russians died, by far the greatest number of all nations in the Second World War. And juxtaposed to this, I find myself watching, finally, news footage of the Gaza Strip, and these countless, they're saying 300,000 people walking along the coast back to the Gaza Strip, back to a completely devastated, trashed land. And that awful man, whose name I really am trying to avoid, but the current incumbent of the presidency of the United States of America, so this absolute stream of humanity, and that has gone on for a year and whatever, since October the 7th, the 8th of October 2023, the complete devastation of a whole country of people, 2.5 million, moved on any number of times. Collateral damage, left, right, and centre, whatever the figure is, but 46,000 people actually killed, many children, babies, mothers, all absolutely without the American finance and complete military arming support of America, Israel would not have been able to do that. There it is, right now. And people are saying, oh, yes, the war, the Second World War, and wasn't it awful, and so and so and so. And my own father fought on the Somme in the First World War, and that was meant to be the war to end all wars. So when does it stop? And it doesn't. The former president of America sort of purported to be a reasonable kind of chap with a long history of political service and all the rest of it. And yet America was the primary contributor to the finance and the arming of Israel to perpetrate this massive atrocity, ethnic cleansing. The new incumbents already talking about, oh, why don't they just move off to other countries and let the Israelis move into the Gaza Strip? Well, that is ethnic cleansing on a grand scale. That's what they want, the hard right-wing Israeli lot. Christ was a Jew. I am not anti-Semitic. It just hits you in the face, doesn't it? So I do, I make films, I follow up on YouTube, on sometimes on items that appear, and I'm delighted to see. I normally don't bother with American stuff. Why should I? But there are any number of avenues of swathes of Americans already absolutely up in arms about the new president of the United States of America. 22 states, I believe, beginning to file lawsuits about this fundamental right. If you are born in a country, the America, it's in the Constitution, which goes back to whenever that was fired up. And I think the precedent they mentioned was 1880 or something. Of some legal case. But the Constitution states that if you're born in the country that is the United States of America, you are an American citizen. That is it. Full stop. So some man, large, small, whatever size the fellow is, or thinks he is, can't just write on a bit of paper, I dismiss all that, we're going to evict you, and we're going to use the military to do it. That's just one of the matters. The other big one that kept coming up was the January the 6th business on the 2021, when that same new incumbent, how many ways to avoid saying his name? It's not funny, this. It's very serious trouble coming to the world through that man and the fact that he has been voted back into power by sufficient Americans. January the 6th. Oh, and there the police, the American Police Officers Association or whatever, absolutely excoriating the fact that the fellow has signed some order which has released 1,600 convicted criminals who invaded the Capitol government buildings, whatever it's called, can't even think of its name, that great big white domey building in America. Police, I believe at least one was killed, many injured, and many of those people admitted guilt. They didn't even have to go to full trial. And that's just two of the dangerous precedents the fellow set. He's pulled America out of the WHO, the World Health Organization, I think. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. And another treaty that was ratified, he's pulled America out. because America is the biggest economy in the world, etc., etc. Oh, he's doing these trade wars, threatening trade wars left, right, and centre as well, against Colombia, for instance, because they wouldn't take some people back. So he threatened stuff. Oh, and he's threatening to annex Greenland as well. So he's got the Danish people up in arms. I mean, it is just, that's in the first week. And I gather the strategy is the fellow does this to bombard the world with so many things that they don't know where to start. And they just sort of roll over in the end and say, oh, well. How did Hitler, who was the Chancellor, wasn't he, in 1933, wasn't he, a senior figure in the government? How did he persuade ordinary people, tens of thousands of ordinary Germans, to do what they did? They were thinking, feeling people. I mean, they broadcast the BBC from a house that was the commandant of the camp lived literally the other side of a huge wall by the gas chambers, with the windows of the house frosted over, so his, I believe, 5 children, no less, couldn't see out and see what Daddy was really up to. He had a wife, obviously. Well, so does the current President of the United States of America, obviously, because he's got children. Well, what a world are we living in? And the worst of it is that fellow purports to be Christian. So then there was this woman bishop, which is a whole different subject. I don't believe in ordaining women. I just lost half my audience, haven't I? Yes, well, Christ chose 12 disciples. Disceo I teach, to become apostles I send out. So anyway, that's a whole different matter. And she, at his inauguration, spoke out in the sense of a plea for clemency and love and all that sort of Christian stuff. And then she's being excoriated by some other minister saying she's not Christian. Oh no, she isn't Christian, but he is. Well, there was a film, I'm 68 years old, there was a film back in my youth, I think probably the 70s, called It's a Mad, 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 Four Mads World. Well, it jolly well is. And it's getting madder by the minute. I sit in my comfort here in I mean, we haven't had a world war, obviously, in my lifetime. I was born in 1956. But there are conflicts all around the world. If you manufacture arms, you will sell them. And people then will use them. So this is my best that I can do as a single individual to, at the very least, recognize the difference between right and wrong, and just the complete, utter contrast of one after the other, the great and the good, including King Charles of Britain, laying wreaths or at Auschwitz, Birkenau, and then the stream of humanity, hundreds of thousands of human souls carrying all they had to go back to the devastation of their homes and whole areas by the neighbouring state. Well, there it is. I tell it to my now old friends. It's called Socks. After Socrates, you'll see him in a minute. And the wonderful thing about him, a bit like I used to have beautiful German Shepherd dogs, so you always have an excuse for a walk, but they love you and they don't answer back and they just love you. So it was the don't answer back point I was thinking about. I can ramble on to my heart's content. No one listens. My most viewed films are a minute's worth of sort of soundbite. So my tuppence worth is, if this is the world we live in now, given my, I take an interest in the world around me. I'm not a political with a large P animal whatsoever. But from my perspective as a Christian, then all of this stuff is absolutely leading the world towards Armageddon, the end times, the second coming of Christ. Amen. Yep. Oh, there he is, old Socks, in the corner over there. There is hope, faith, hope, and love. And the promise of God. Come unto me, all ye who are weary and heavy laden. Christ's words. So, love God, stand firm. Amen.